7:01, we're ready to call the meeting to order. As a preliminary matter, this is Lydia Bogart, Chairman of the Fire Chief Search Committee. Let me confirm that all of the members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Mr. Broussard?
Present.
Lieutenant Corda?
Present.
Chief Crapo?
Chief Crapo here.
Mr. Fazio?
Fazio here.
Mr. Fadavi?
Fadavi here.
Mr. Shmenko, please tell me how to say that the right way.
That's right. Shemeko here.
Shmenko here. Okay. Bogar also here. We do not have any expected staff or guests. Is that correct, Evan?
Correct.
Okay. All right. This open meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which is posted on the town's website, grafton-mass.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Do we have to read this whole thing?
You can breeze through it if you'd like.
Breeze,
So-
breeze, I can do breeze.
Right.
The
Skip
meeting
to the last sentence.
The meeting is being recorded, and attendees who have designated themselves as present are participating. Be aware that other people may see you, and take care not to share screen your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Okay, supporting materials are posted on the Google website that Evan has established. Speakers, mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Speak clearly and wait until you're called upon to state your question, motion, whatever. I think that just about does it. Shall we start with the roles of the committee members? Do you want to take care of that, Evan?
I think it's pretty well established if everyone read that. So just wanted to clearly outline. I know after the first meeting, we had some back and forth via email, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear what the roles are. Lydia obviously is the chair and will fill that role. Mike Corda is the vice chair, who does almost nothing unless Lydia is not here. It's like Thomas Jefferson said, it's the most insignificant office that ever the invention of man contrived. The vice chairmanship. Anyways.
Not to worry,
and then-
Mike, I am leaving town.
And then there's Darab is the clerk, and he's going to be taking the minutes. We can leverage Joanne Duncan in the select board's office to help us post agendas, to help us schedule Zoom meetings, and
Okay,
to help us with the posting of minutes. I talked to her today, and she's willing to fill that role.
okay.
Um,
So Mr. Fadavi as clerk is not the one who composes and sends the agenda. That's my job.
So, yeah, as the chair, you can do that, but you can also do that in conjunction with Joanne. She had said you could either just call her or
Right.
send her an email, and she will help you set that up.
Okay,
So that way, just try to streamline that a little bit.
all righty. We have all gotten an email this afternoon from Mr. Broussard with the draft of the fire chief description. Do we want to talk about the badge quest documents first? Or-
If if I may, I think we should start with the Badge Quest documents because then we can get them back to
Okay.
Badge Quest. The job description, since it came out so late today, maybe not everyone's have a chance to review it. Second of all, it will require some tweaking as we get closer to the vote on the 22nd,
Okay.
right? So maybe, and Lydia, if you'd like, I can share my screen
Oh, that would be
Um,
helpful.
when we're looking at the Badge Quest stuff. And I think
Okay.
Darab's got his hand up there.
The badge quest documents, were those emailed to us or were those posted on the Google Drive?
They're in the Google Drive.
Okay, so I just missed it.
I made a sub, and it doesn't really matter. I think we'll just talk them out as we go and I can take the notes or fill them in as we go and we'll bang right through them. They're
Okay.
not really complicated.
That would be great. I haven't been able to take a look at them, obviously, because I didn't have access to the Google Drive this week. So
Yep, so we should be able to just do this as we go and try to, do this as quickly as possible. Not that my third 7 o'clock meeting is wearing on me at all, but we'll try
I
to move
would
right through it.
imagine.
Yeah, the job description, just so you know, is a primer. It's a starting point. Nothing is set in stone. That's not an official, accepted town document. That's really just a place so that we can start somewhere and jump off. And so what I did
Okay.
was, I had written a job description for the chief in Munson. I started with that because I was most familiar with that, and then took other elements of things that I've heard since I've been in Grafton and incorporated them in. So
Okay.
it's a starting point. That's all. Okay, so let me go over to the drive here, and then I will share my screen. All right.
Okay.
So here, Madam Chair, if you'd like, I can just run through it.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I will gladly fill in the obvious things after. We don't have to do that while we're all sitting here. I know what the department name is. I did get that far. So the interesting, so we have staffing levels. We have a chief. And we have, so what else do we have? How would I fill this out?
Well, we have the Board of Fire Engineers.
No, we don't.
No, they were removed via charter, right?
Okay.
So we have a chief. And
But
it's
we
really
have,
just.
we have line officers at each station. Is that right, Mike?
That is correct. We have captains and lieutenants and obviously firefighters.
Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna go captain. Now, here's the $1 million question. Do we have deputy chiefs that the slot hasn't been filled?
The slot has not been filled. Deputy Chief Mike Mills retired in the past few months. So that position has not been filled. And the other two district chiefs from the north end and the south end also retired within the last
Okay.
year. So
Okay. So what I think we would do in that case, I think we would still say that the staffing level of deputy chief exists. It's just not filled.
Yep.
I mean, what it sounds like, I think, and again, we're putting in place a profile, and then we're a paid on call department,
correct.
Correct.
just making sure. Population, I have the square mileage, I've got civilians dispatch function. I think we would just say yes there, right? We have civilian dispatchers in PD. Does the fire department run EMS? Now, I know we're using, an outside service. Is there does anyone know if there's oversight at that level? And I do intend on running this by the chief as well, so.
No, it's the oversight's by the ambulance committee.
Okay, so no oversight at all.
No,
Gotcha.
the fire chief would be on the ambulance committee along with the police chief.
Okay. Very good. Do we have any female firefighters?
We do.
Okay, good.
Two.
Do we have any female officers?
No.
No.
Position is not civil service, correct? Number of people that the chief would be supervising. So you've got your 4 members of full-time staff when we're all done. Well, 3, 4 if you count the chief, which obviously doesn't manage himself, correct?
Mhm.
And then how many call members do we have? Roughly 50?
If everybody responded,
Yeah, I would say close to that, yeah.
All right, we're gonna throw 55 in there for a number. We can always adjust it down when we talk to Badge Quest.
And we've
Um,
been
but-
higher before too.
You've, right, because we're, at some one point, you're up in the 80s, right? 85
Yeah.
or something like that.
That's
So,
correct.
so let's, again, it's a guidance document. It doesn't have to be what we have actually today. Got to be close. In what capacity would the successful candidate be acting? That's just full-time chief. Right. All right, here's where your most serious fire-related issues in the community.
I would say recruitment and grant generation.
You said grant?
Generation, yeah. So recording of statistics to take that and to get grants for additional funding.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I can flesh that out further too. Anyone else have any thoughts on most serious fire-related issues in the community?
I think communication at this point is a pretty serious issue because I understand that the radios really need to be replaced like last week. Is that
So
correct?
not so much communication with
No.
staff? No,
Technical.
No, the radios are fine. Could we stand to have an additional repeater? Sure, especially in the
Okay.
south end of town where,
Okay.
but no, the radios are up to date.
And I feel like
Okay.
that's something, again, with the grants, if the numbers are recorded properly and that grant were to pop up, it's free, we would go for it, but we're not in dire straits
Right.
of that
Okay.
kind of stuff. But if opportunities presented themselves, we should take them.
oh yeah, absolutely. We always take the money.
Correct.
What about retention?
That's part
I
of the
was gonna say
recruitment and
staffing.
retention, yeah.
Yeah,
Staffing and
recruitment.
And
retention.
recruitment.
Yeah.
Recruitment and retention.
And retention, just because obviously the numbers have been dwindling over the years, so.
All right. Do we have any insight? Oh, sorry. Does anybody have any else for that particular question?
No.
Okay, seeing none. How about most frequent citizen concerns? Does anybody have any insight into that?
Well, this time of year, it's usually open burning, but because of all the wind, there hasn't been any or very little.
I think,
I mean, a generic statement would be, that the public obviously is concerned about public safety and the continued viability of the fire department. I don't know if you want to write any of that, but I mean, most people are satisfied currently, I believe, because that's a good department, but they're going to want that service to continue. So that it's about the service that's provided and the basically how good that service is.
and a lot of people don't even realize we are a call department.
That's
to
right.
Move to town.
I was just
so,
gonna say that, Dara. Yep, you're absolutely correct.
not to pat ourselves on the shoulder, but
You do that whenever you can as well. You take the money and you pat yourself on the shoulder. There you go.
The one thing I think I might add for the most serious fire-related issue,
Yep.
I guess those aren't actual fire-related issues, but those are fire department-related issues. But
I think that's what it means.
I would say also just to clean up the whole organizational structure and vet everything out, since it'll be a change for us, right? So there's a lot to undertake in that aspect as well. So between communication, organizational structure of having a full-time chief now that we're going to rely on for all these other aspects.
And
Okay.
The statistics would include the ones that are mandated, sent to the fire marshal's office every month.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's just someone to collect the data
And input
make
it.
sure- And input it, right?
Right.
What do
I
we
think-
think? Sorry,
I-
what do
I
we
think-
think? Sorry, chief, I
sorry.
couldn't see you because I have the screen share on.
Of course. No, I was gonna say, maybe rather than statistics, call it records management.
Okay,
All
Yeah,
right.
I was gonna tie that to general compliance, some sort of compliance, because it's beyond statistics. It's about, basically regulatory compliance. You've got NFPA stuff, so, that's a piece, statistics is a piece of the overall compliance in the department.
yep,
While we're back on there, I have one more question too.
sure.
How's the training? Do you think that can be worked on? Because to me, recruitment and I mean, all these things are good, but training is very important too.
I
So-
think our training's good, but you can always use more training. And I think we've only been able to do so much training with the budget we have. I can speak for my station that we do our own drill to supplement the training that we've already had from the department on top of it. So again, more structured training is always good.
Okay.
As a historical question, does anyone know the last time the department did a full function drill with Red Cross or MEMA or anybody? No?
I do not. I do not. I do not.
Okay.
Most serious internal issues. And so the other thing to keep in mind, we can also, you can send me something later if you'd like. If you don't want to say that in open session, I think everyone would understand that.
I think that's something that we'll know more about once that questionnaire has gone out
Yep,
and been
that's-
returned.
That's probably true too, Lydia. I agree. Current state of labor relations. So you're non-union. But how do you think, let's take labor as not just meaning, union in this context. What do we think that looks like? Okay,
Kevin,
what's that, Bob?
could you just say that again? I missed the question.
Current state of labor relations.
I mean, are you talking between the members? You're talking between administration and the
I think,
members?
I think what it means is the between the different hierarchy in the organization. So like you get your chief and your admin staff, and then you've got call members.
Well, I mean, just speaking from our station alone, our station's a very tight knit, very well worked organization. I mean, we have each other all the time. Now, is there a disconnect? And it can be in any department. Sometimes there is a disconnect from administration to the company level. Absolutely, but when it comes to the actual companies themselves, and I think Bob and Derek can also, as companies stand alone, they're very, very well worked, very well organized. And, we do the hierarchy of, obviously captain lieutenants to the firefighters, and everybody listens, everybody follows. I mean, it's pretty well run machine, and that's a credit to, the officers of each station also, so.
On that same note, I think, that works with all of us. And I think as companies, we work well together at a company level as well.
And we also work together as the three companies, obviously when there's an all units call, work well together as a unit.
Okay.
In fact, you know what? I mean, the whole organization works well when there's an emergency, no matter what differences there may be, it gels together.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna, you'll obviously all have access to this, so I'm gonna sum that up later. into kind of bring all your thoughts together.
One question to Mike. Do any of the captains go to District 7 meetings?
At this point, I would say no.
Okay,
That was always usually left to the chief, the district chiefs, the deputy chiefs. They're the ones that usually go to the district meetings
okay.
in the past.
So does that dovetail into the question of what, if any, regionalization or mutual aid does the department participate in?
Well, we're part of District 7, and we have mutual aid agreements with all the surrounding towns.
Yep.
And we have very good work relationships with all the towns around us too.
Okay.
And I think that goes beyond some of those surrounding towns because we're on run cards going pretty decently far out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Other towns. Okay. Will the individual who is selected spend time meeting with citizens and or addressing groups, neighborhood meetings, station tours, etc.? I would say yes.
I
Yeah,
would
the
say
chief.
so.
Yeah, I agree.
Even right now, well, not during COVID, but we used to do a lot of other community events. Representatives from each station would go. I would assume he would also go with them.
Will this is a firm yes. Individual be selected to be writing or administrating grants. Will the individual selected be involved in labor relations matter? So this will be yes, but they're non-union. This is no. Will the selected individual be involved in inspections?
I would
So we
assume
have
so.
We have the FPO, right?
Yep.
Who's
I would
doing
assume
most
everybody
inspections?
would, in that chief role, he should be able to help out with inspections if we get behind, or if like Mike's sick or something. So yeah, I would assume.
Anybody have a different thought than yes? No? Okay.
do we anticipate that the chief and the other full-time members of the department will join PFFM as soon as they're on board?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay.
So I did a yes on, will the selected individual be developing and writing policies? That's, I think, a firm yes. Will they be involved in the disciplinary process or internal investigations? Yes. Some of this is pretty straightforward. So this is, will they be involved in firefighter training? Yes. Will they have to deal with the press? Yes. Is the department involved in community activities? Yes. What do you feel are, of those community programs, what do you feel are the most successful?
Have there been school programs in the past?
Yeah, we used to run the SAFE program, and I think we still ran it up until last year. I don't think they've done anything this year because of COVID, but we've had success with it.
They haven't done a senior fire safety presentation for, I believe, 3 years.
Okay. In the past, when we were running them, do we feel like they were successful? That was a successful program? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Again, if you think of anything else, this document will be in Google Drive, and we can obviously just tweak it before
Okay.
we're done. All right. Describe the ideal person to fill this position.
Level-headed, good communicator, good manager.
Do we want to say good manager or good leader?
I would say both, right? we want him to be able to manage budgets in the department and also lead everybody.
So I would say good leader, strong fiscal management.
Okay.
I'm an administrator. I have to make it more complicated than it's supposed to be.
I would say
Uh,
also good people skills and empathy skills, right? Because he has to deal with a lot of different people, a lot of different types.
Will the chief be also the director of emergency management?
The EMD, they will not. We have a separate EMD position.
Okay.
Say something like able to build trust within the department or the, based internally or externally.
Okay. Mike, you got anything you want to see in the ideal
Yeah.
person?
You know, this person also has to understand that this is a call department. And again, I've said it in the past. A transition has to be smooth, and we just can't, or this person just can't jump in and do radical changes at first. He has to have an understanding of the history of the call department.
Yeah, that's one thing, Mike, I wanted to add to the job description of familiarity with NFPA 1720, the standard for call departments. And that he was on a call department for, I don't know, at least 5 years beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, call departments and obviously full-time departments, run totally different.
Correct.
Your staffing levels change at a moment's notice. Some run ambulances, some don't. Some are part-time. Some have full-time guys during the day, then go part-time at night. So, I mean, this person, really has to have a complete understanding of the system.
So, I mean, it's probably for the job description, but the ability to maintain and sustain, the ability to manage and maintain a call department. I mean, that would basically be to me the requirement, because as he said, we don't want somebody coming in and just trying to shift gears immediately.
If I may, the only
Yes.
thing with that is maybe it's nice to have somebody with call department experience, but you're looking at a chief here that's managing the department as a whole. And that, I think, whether, I'm not a firefighter, never was, but if you're managing the department, he's taking care of the bigger things, and you have the deputies or the assistant chief that can have the experience. You don't want to exclude somebody that has fantastic experience as a fire chief or a commander in the fire department because he doesn't have call firefighter experience. I don't think you want to knock that out.
That's understood, but I think it's something I think they can't be taught or easily explained, the dynamics of a call department. So I think, we have the big net approach here where we cast the big net, let Badge Quest filter it out, and then we filter from there. So I think, the idea to have call experience is important to us. I think we should mention it.
Yeah,
Because again, it's intangible.
preferred maybe.
I would put preferred, exactly.
Right. So, but for the purposes of this context, we're only looking for, I think if you're talking about job description, yes, you can talk about preferred. When we're talking about what is the ideal person, right? This is the perfect person exists of what you want. So I think it's okay to say here that you want them to have call experience, because this is just giving Badge Quest some background into what you would want. And I think we are going to meet with Mr. Pomeroy again, obviously, and we can certainly, iterate that this is the wish list. There's not going to be a candidate that checks all of our boxes, and we're going to have to try to find somebody. One of my sayings is hire for talent, train for skill. And you might get yourself there where you have a candidate that has a little less experience in areas you might want, but man, their personality and their character seems to really shine as to what you want. You might make that trade-off at some point. Any other thoughts of ideal? I'd like to see a chief that communicates and works well with other non-fire departments.
Yeah, Evan,
Intertown relations type thing.
yeah. I was thinking of the word collaboration, and I think that goes not only for the other departments, but also the discussion that was just had internally as well, you know, so if we're looking for someone who is managing and maintaining a call department and coming in new, if we, you know, we have someone coming from out of town, that they're collaborating with the folks that have been here for many years and getting an understanding of the town and the department as it has worked, you know, and listen for opportunities of improvement. So I think that's good. Collaborative with other town departments and internal staff.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Again, we don't have to get everything right this second. We can certainly, you think of something later, we can build on this.
Right.
Okay, that's it for that document.
All righty.
I don't use Google. I don't know what I just hit, but it's fine. It's saved in there somewhere. All right. What else did we get?
I think the department questionnaire is pretty comprehensive, pretty good stuff.
Okay. Let me try to pull that up here. Grafton Fire Members Survey. Would it be acceptable to the, man, Google's killing me today. They're like, this guy's grammar is awful. I'm going to keep popping up and trying to get him to sign on. Would it be acceptable for me to run down this list verbally, and then you can weigh in? Do people want to do this separately? How do you, what's your preference? I'm happy to
Weigh in
run
on
down
the question or weigh in on the answer?
the question. You'll have your opportunity to weigh in on the answer when you get the survey.
I don't know that we have to go through it line by line, but maybe the three members of the department want to have some input at this time.
I think going through line by line was fine. It's
Yeah.
collaborative and
Okay,
it gets
let's-
everyone's.
Let's do it. So question number one, what do you believe should be the role of the fire chief in the community? Question two, what type of management style would you prefer the new chief to have? Question three, what do you believe should be the role of firefighters in the community? I can answer that one. I got that down. What are the strengths of the fire department? What are the weaknesses of the department? In your opinion, is discipline administered in a fair manner? In your opinion, is training adequate? In your opinion, is equipment adequate? What areas of the department do you believe could be improved? What can be done to improve them? Please be specific. Rate morale within the department from 1 to 10. Do you believe that the fire department is respected within the community? In your opinion, is the fire department committed to fire prevention and education? What new programs, if any, would you like to see implemented within the department? Have you ever considered leaving the department? What will be the greatest challenge or challenges the new chief will face? Please list 3 talents you believe the new chief should possess, and then other comments and suggestions. It is a pretty comprehensive document. And
I would add something like a question about what do you believe would help attract or retain call firefighters?
Individuals, yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple too, and I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, that a copy of the capstone was put onto the Google Drive yet, right?
No, I think that's
No.
my fault, Doreen.
No, that's okay.
We
But I
found it, but I
I
don't think I
have a hard
uploaded it.
copy of it, and I have a couple questions I can throw out. Because these are kind of interesting, and we can reword them too if you wanted. Do you have the materials and equipment you need in order to complete your work correctly? At work, do you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? And it was kind of like a scaled. Have you ever received recognition for doing good work? Does your supervisor or someone at work care for you as a person? Is there someone at work who encourages your development? Does the mission or purpose of your organization make you feel that your job is important? I mean, some of these, we had a lot of questions, so, but I'm trying to see if, and then there was like, I can talk openly with the fire chief about issues faced by the department. And it was like scaled. So if we wanted to put some of these in, if we pop this up onto the Google Drive, I mean, maybe those of you within the department can take a look at these questions too for filling in any gaps if there are any.
I think a couple of those would be good ads.
Okay. Like, here's another one I think would be good. Expectations are clearly communicated and constructive feedback on performance is provided on a regular basis, both formally and informally. And at the time, only 59% of the department thought that was happening. So, you know, it could be a strongly agree, disagree, agree, strongly disagree type of answer. We wanted to put something like that down too, or again, reword it in the sense of what we're looking for in the future. So we'll make sure we get this on the Google Drive.
Yep. I'll make that happen. Any other comments on the questionnaire for now?
So we'll have an opportunity to add a couple more. Is that what we're gonna do? Or
Yep. And yes, and what we can do is it's all in the Google Drive. So if you know, Doreen has a couple of questions she wants to add or thinks is valuable, you know, or anybody else comes up with one, you can just shoot it to me. I'll add it to the drive and I'll just let everybody know it's in the drive. And then we can get this back over to Pomeroy to start moving in that direction.
I
And
think
certainly
it might be interesting
sorry.
to know if anybody in the department has any other community related skills. You know, if they've had special training, for instance, for dealing with handicapped children, a blind child, you know, bedridden seniors, that kind of stuff that wouldn't necessarily be part of their fire department training, but is something they maybe do, you know, through some other opportunity.
All right, so I'm just trying to think of how that ties back to assessing the department's. I mean, most of these questions are kind of get you a temperature of the department
Right.
and how it's operating.
But it might be nice to know, you know, we might find some hidden talent, and wouldn't that be terrific?
Yeah, but what does it have to do with finding a fire chief?
You might have a chief that has a great deal of experience. Maybe he or she was,
So are you talking about the perspective that's coming in or the current people that are on that department?
probably both. I mean, we have had a variety of special needs students in our schools for, I don't know, the last 12, 15 years that I'm aware of.
it seems like this would be something potentially the new chief would be doing, and he would do his own assessment of the current, when he comes in, the hope would be he'll do an assessment of everybody's training, what they do, their skill set, and those sorts of things. I think this is, you know, as Mike had said, it's more directed towards the current status and the issues within the department. So, you know, my next question was going to be, you about are there physical problems within the buildings that, that you're aware of or something like that,
Mhm.
versus doing an assessment of the current skill
Oh,
level.
again, that's gonna be up to, like you said, Bob, the new fire chief that comes in, he has to assess the community. And he has to look at the school population and the demographics of it. He has to look at the one current nursing home that we have. And and our elderly housing and so on and so forth. I mean, that's something that's just gonna, I would hope prior experience would shine through on that. And I think that would be a question, and how,
Right.
how would you handle these situations and these young adults or elderly adults and so on and so forth. But I mean, personally speaking myself, I have a 20-year-old autistic son. I think I'm a little bit more in tune to a person's special needs than most people are. But me having that and the experience of that, I don't think really has anything to do with who we hire as a chief either.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wants to use me down the road for whatever, or my experiences, absolutely, but
Yeah, but this is more for us
Yeah.
to take a temperature of how's the department feel about a new chief, what we want in a new chief. He can do his own due diligence later on about all of us, what our skill sets are, what we all bring to the table, and what he needs to do for infrastructure and to support us. This is more, what do we want in a fire chief? How do we feel towards the department? And maybe get a temperature of how to help him take the next step in keeping firefighters and retention and recruitment. I don't think these are questions just for us. I don't think we're going to find a necessarily diamond in the rough amongst ourselves necessarily by asking these questions. I think this is more, again, get the temperature and see what we want to lean towards for a chief.
well, correct me if I'm wrong. These questions were posed a while ago, and the department, I would imagine most of the department filled them out and sent them in. So we do have the answers to a lot of these questions, correct?
No,
We don't.
Well, the one.
We did that like
So-
8 years ago.
it was
right,
Kate,
so
yeah,
Doreen,
ago.
I'm sorry, Doreen. So Doreen did them as part of her capstone for her master's degree. And those are separate questions. These are badge questions that will go out in the coming weeks to
Are these,
take.
just to clarify, these questions, Evan, are from Badge Quest?
Correct.
Okay.
But
Yep.
and Evan, if you could just clarify too. So these questions are from Badge Quest, but we can construct our own questions if
Yes.
you like to add them to them. And I think this conversation has helped explain to me too. I think once these are filled out, it'll clarify the gaps that we currently have in the department. And
Right.
that'll help us streamline exactly what we need in a chief, our next chief. And so,
Right.
these questions are relevant because of that. And, I mentioned my capstone, it's old news at this point, it's old information, but I think if any of you see any of the questions as relevant, and I certainly wouldn't be offended if it's not used, it's done, I got my piece of paper, so it's fine. But if it's useful in any way, to add it on and to kind of look back at questions like this that were asked 8 to 10 years ago, I want to provide that resource.
Yeah,
So-
I think, infrastructure that we can swap that out maybe to that
Well,
question you had about, can you talk openly with the chief? Or do you feel comfortable with that?
yeah,
And I think
I-
there are about 40 questions in there. So again, we'll you guys can look through them at your leisure. I'm not going to waste your time flipping through them all of them now, but just as an example, and they have graphs of, how many people filled them out and what percentage, was what. And so I think a lot of it, I would assume still holds true. So, to Mike's comment about are there things already done, you may, and I wouldn't know, but you may look at them and say, yeah, this is still probably exactly where we are today. And other things you might say, oh, this has changed drastically. So,
Right.
um,
I,
Yeah.
I think,
I think
oh,
these
sorry.
questions are, no, I was just gonna, my last comment, I think these questions are a great starting point. And
Mhm.
now that I see them through the eyes of, it'll help us get to the gaps of, to again, streamline us to what we're looking for. It makes more sense. And so, finding things outside of how is this gonna help us get a new chief really wouldn't be relevant. So.
I think that I liked Bob's infrastructure question because there was another question that you had said, Doreen, that talked about equipment and so on and so forth. And I think that that's a good gap to try to identify because whether it's, when I say infrastructure, I mean not
Equipment.
only buildings, but
Yeah.
equipment, all that stuff. Because, if you, let's say you had an answer to that question that was, we have major infrastructure problems, then maybe the chief that you are selecting, you'd want to have a stronger background in, capital planning and procurement and things like that to help kind of turn the department over. But why don't we put a pin in that if everyone's okay, and we'll look at Doreen's questions as well, and then we can. I think we don't probably want to do more than between 20 and 25 questions. Personally.
Lydia or Evan, whoever I have to go through, quick question. I think what Lydia was kind of alluding to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lydia, but basically, I think it's a good question. And all these questions here, it is for the chief, what would you like in a new chief? But what's going on in your department now, which is fine, which would be something that the new chief would have to address. I think the question that Lydia was kind of alluding to was as far as with special skills. And I think a good question here would be currently, are you allowed to use special skills and training in the fire department? I happen to know a few people that do have special skills and from other departments also,
Yeah.
and they were never allowed to use. They went on to training on their own. They went way above and beyond. And some were allowed to use their training, some weren't. And that's something that the chief has to recognize. Hey, you do have a special skill with autistic children or with the blind or whatever, or in some mode of firefighting that you went out and trained on your own, because let's face it, call firefighters don't do it for the money. They do
Right.
a lot of stuff on their own. And it's the role of a chief to say, hey, you have this skill. I do that in the police department. You went out, did that training on your own. You're going to be doing this for me from now on. And that's one way that retention, recognition and retention.
Right.
So I think that would be a good question, for the current administration, as it were, and to move on. And that would be a good thing for the next chief to have.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it as a resource, basically an evaluation of the existing resources. I mean, I have a background in health physics. I worked with radiation years ago, but I don't, not that I really want to do that anymore, but yeah, I think that that's a key. And you want it just like if you, in your normal occupation, I mean, it's some full-time job, you want to look at someone's skill set and the things they're interested in, and encourage them to get greater expertise. I mean, I think one of the problems many times is, a lot of folks on the department, I think, would like to get training, and you have to pay for it many times on your own. So, I mean, I think that resource identification by an incoming chief is really important. But, I mean, the thing with this is that that's a pretty big task. And I sort of leave that to the incoming administration.
But I think, like I said, is the question being now, because half the questions here are what's happening now. So you might want to put that into what's happening now, and make that a point later on for the new chief to recognize. Because if you don't bring it up, I'm assuming Badge Quest will bring this information up to any pool of candidates, and they might even put this in an assessment center, which would be important.
what about a question like, do you feel that your current skill, your particular skills are being
training.
utilized by the department or something like
Yes,
that?
exactly.
Well, fortunately, we've had a pretty calm 20 or 30 years around here, but certainly anybody who was in town, and maybe I'm the only one, although Mike has been around for a while, the great dam break of 1978.
I was here.
You
I was a child, but I remember it.
left everybody scampering. Anybody who was south of the Baptist Bridge was climbing into the attic. And it would have been perhaps useful at that time to know who's got an inflatable, who's got a boat. You know, we could have the upcoming hurricane season might impact us. You know, how many people maybe in their regular day jobs has had full-blown disaster training of any kind?
Mhm.
Have any of you ever taken part in, for instance, a hurricane drill? Or, well, Evan knows all about tornadoes, but
I
he
do.
learned that the hard way.
And that's what you have to find out. And anybody that has that, we had a little touchdown supposedly a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing serious, but that type of skill. I mean,
Right.
hazmat. I mean, we all have basic general knowledge in hazmat, recognizing the placards and stuff, especially with the propane facility.
Right.
But somebody, we just lost somebody not too long ago that had all those skills, and is there somebody else that can step up and
Exactly.
do it? So that's, has anybody been asked? Do you have these,
Right.
whoever has this skill, please let us know. We'll send you to more training. It's, you don't have to worry. The fire department doesn't have to worry so much. I don't know what the internal workings are, but we have to worry about sometimes, by contract, you have to worry about seniority or this or that when sending somebody to school. Whereas, in a non-union place, you pretty much, the chief will have more free reign
Right.
to point and send for training. So it's just something that, I think people would like to be asked, hey, do you have the training? Would you like to utilize it? Either be a trainer or, sharpen your
Right.
skills. We can use you until we get somebody else, or whatever. So,
Is there anyone in either the fire or the police department that is a currently certified diver of one sort or another?
We have several on the fire department, but we don't normally outsource to District 7 for diving.
we had one, but he hasn't trained in quite a while. So,
Well, we got a couple of pretty good sized lakes. It might be interesting to find somebody that was,
I'm pretty sure we have one that is on the District 7 dive team, and we have 4 others that are certified that are not on the dive team.
okay.
I am one of them.
Of course you are, because you don't sleep.
There'll be time for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we want to put a pin in this and review some of Doreen's suggested questions or questions from that capstone, and then we can finalize it at the next one? So I
Yeah,
think we accomplished some pretty good stuff on this one.
I don't think we need a motion for that, do we, Evan, or we just go to the next document?
No, we can just go to the next document.
Okay,
Sorry, so I'm scrolling around quicker than the screen will keep. This is something that if you haven't looked in there already, I strongly suggest you read this document. This is the knowledge, skills, abilities, and personal characteristics. Chief Pomeroy had an acronym name for it, but I don't remember how to say it. So these are the different kind of knowledge, skills, abilities that we're going to be looking for in a chief. And I believe that his intent was for us to look at these and kind of give them a little bit of a hierarchy. He said he's gonna have three, correct me if I'm right, if I'm misremembering this, but he's gonna have three that are always put in of what you're looking for, and then we're supposed to select some more off of this list that we think are highly important. So maybe take a look at those when you have a chance to get up into the drive.
Okay.
And lastly, and obviously it's at the discretion of the chair. But if no one's looked over the draft and fire chief candidate questions yet, maybe we can do that and address this at the next meeting. Because I think these ones probably need a little bit more in-depth either discussion. These are the ones that they're actually going to ask, and will be asking the chief, the prospective chief. And so these are some really great primer questions. Here's 10 of them on here.
Yep.
But
So-
we might, I'm thinking we're gonna want to add to this list.
Evan, I'm gonna just put committee to review for future meeting.
What's
That
that?
I have it down right now that we're reviewing it, but I have also that we all will review it in our own time for a future
Right.
meeting.
Right.
Yep. Yep. I think that's a good way to put that. Yeah. All right. So that is it, Madam Chair, for the badge quest documents that are in the drive.
Okay.
Um,
Shall we
and
jump into your draft?
if you would like, sure.
Has everybody had a chance to look it over?
I have not.
Okay.
It was sent this afternoon, Evan.
Yes, and Doreen, I think I thought I sent it to the correct.
The temporary email?
I think I did, yes.
Okay,
But I can pull it up on the screen too here.
that would be helpful. Thank you.
So just for some background, again, this is the underpinning of this is a job description that I wrote in my previous capacity in Munson. We did a salary and classification study in 2015. And then the chief and I rewrote this again later on, probably in 17 or 18, based on the change that Munson had made from to the strong chief provision. And so we made some changes at that. So this is a document that's based on the strong chief language, which is pretty close, to be honest with you. There wasn't huge revisions that were needed. Do you want me to just go through it pretty quickly, or do you want to review it in your own time and we deal with it at the next meeting? Chief Crapo, what do you think?
I've looked at it. I looked at it earlier. It seems to have everything. It's, standard chief type qualifications. Biggest thing would be as far as education training, you're asking for a bachelor's or, comparable administration. That's up to the board here if they think they need that. As far as the other special requirements, but no, I mean, everything, the leadership, the environment and all that, it looks good. I don't know, did you get this originally from FCAM or from fire services or from another company? I'm sure Badge Quest has one of these, and I
Yep.
don't think it'd be much different.
Yeah, I think this is based on a pretty boilerplate from FCAM.
Mhm.
If my memory serves me correctly. And we were using a company called HRS, Human Resource Services. They did the salary and classification study, and they gave us kind of the bones of the document. And then we made it specific to what we're looking for. which, you know, obviously is what we would do in this scenario as well.
There's a couple things I don't mind talking about currently if we want to alter it for next revision.
Okay,
I personally, you know, again, I believe in this wide net theory, right? I keep talking about. I would take the EMT out of that because again, we have an ambulance service that runs. We don't need the chief to be an EMT, so that would limit us a little bit. And
Okay.
again, I believe they should have a full understanding of NFPA 1720. Also, I've been on a call department before, you know, preferred. And I think they don't necessarily need to have fire instructor too, because again, they're not going to be running all the trainings. They have to understand the trainings, but they will be setting up trainings either through SUTO or District 7 or another resource to conduct the trainings. I don't think we're ever going to have a chief that has the time to set the trainings up himself as well. Without just asking too much for one person, along with managing the budget and getting everything in order in this new version of the fire department.
Well, this special requirements can almost be broken up into special requirements and preferential something or other, because I would certainly hope that the incoming chief, in addition to all of the things here, he's going to understand EMFRS. He's going to understand what has to go in to the marshal's office. He should understand the concept of the SAFE program so we can get that off the ground again. And not for nothing, I'll throw in critical incident stress management. We've had some calls on the pike, probably before some of you got here, but Chief Crapo would maybe know. Some of those fatals on the pike are just god awful.
so the one thing I want to stress is that when you're building a job description, your special requirements are going to be your floor, right? And so you
Right.
want to be cautious when you're setting your floor, that you're not going to exclude really great candidates because they're
Right.
missing one component, right? And also keep in mind, the job description is our description, right? It's the town's description. You can hire a candidate and augment the job description based on who you're going to get. You want to have your basics, but you don't want to get yourself into a situation where they don't have ICS 800. No, go somewhere else. Well, it's not that. It wouldn't be that hard to get them trained up
Yeah,
on that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we want to make sure that we set the bar, high enough that we're getting a chief, we're developing a chief's description, but also low enough where we're not excluding, we're not going to be wholly exclusive of a large swath of candidates.
So-
I think if everyone's in agreement, I think Darab's initial comment about EMT and ALS can come out because we don't have that.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, I think the instructor could be taken out too, because again, eventually, to your point, if we find somebody we like, we can always train them up to that instructor level with time.
So,
Right.
So-
It's a growth thing, right? It's ever
So-
evolving.
so here's something that I think that's a great point. And here's something that I missed when I was going over this. The one thing to think about with our special requirements is that if it says fire instructor 2 on here, and we want the chief to be fire instructor 2, you can leave it and then just make their employment contingent upon them getting certified
Obtaining
at
it.
that level.
Right.
And so,
I like
we can
that.
also, what's that, Bob? Sorry.
I was gonna say, I like that. I had a job once where I had to fulfill those additional requirements, and I did. So I mean, I agree. I think that there's something important, and we really don't want to exclude folks that might be really good. I think that, to me, it's about this person's leadership and their management abilities, and as well as, their fire service experience. And we want to get a really good candidate versus, somebody, we know people that have a great resume and tons of stuff on it, and they just don't work out. So
Yeah.
I agree with
Right.
keeping that floor low.
Yeah, that's why I think, we can take the EMT off, we can make the instructor contingent, but I think we should put the 1720 on there and the preferred call experience. We don't need to put an amount of years on there,
Right.
but I think,
So, I just want to note, I would put preferred call experience would be in the advertisement
okay,
to solicit people. It's
Right.
not a requirement, you want to make your preferences as part of your education, training, and experience, because you want it to say, like, okay, when we advertise this, we want a bachelor's degree or higher preferred, right? It doesn't mean that if you don't have it, don't apply. That's what we prefer. And those people are going to be, category 1. I think as far as special requirements, I agree of adding, and I'll throw it in here and then we can discuss if we want to keep it there, but that was NFPA 1720.
correct. That's
Yes.
the call department structure and organization.
I think you cover a lot, as you do with every qualification listing or any equivalent combination of education, training, and experience. That covers everything right there.
Yep.
And
That's
when
my
you're gonna
favorite
get-
catch-all. That's my favorite catch-all line, other than other duties as assigned,
Yeah, exactly.
which
I think-
I'd have to see if it's in here, but I'm assuming it says that in here somewhere.
One comment where
I
you
think
have,
it's at the bottom.
where you have Mass Fire Chief credential.
Yes.
Or the National Fire Academy equivalent, somebody who's maybe gone through the program down at Emmitsburg.
So that would be where it's, can I just jump for 1 second, Lydia, and then we'll
Sure.
circle back to that. Is this line here, the MA, NREMT, basic advanced paramedic? Would we remove that line as well? Because we're not doing that here?
Probably.
Yeah, I think you need that.
Okay.
We can't see your screen, by the way, Evan.
Oh, now you're telling me that I've been talking like you can see it the whole time.
I just assumed.
Thank you.
My copy, so I didn't say anything.
Oh, thank you all for letting me continue on like a fool. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So there's another standard, Lydia, besides,
Yes, at the National Fire Academy at Emmitsburg. I'll get the exact title and send it to you.
okay,
Oh, was that was for fire prevention officer?
yeah.
That's executive officer something. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
But that's the equivalent of chief certification, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
So that would be somewhere else, not.
That'd be
We may get applicants from out of state.
Yep.
Oh, this one here.
That one, correct.
Got it. Okay.
So under the, I don't know if I'm being too geeky, but under the education training experience, I don't know if you want to have something like budgeting and capital planning. Just because, that position as a department head, the apparatus, they're worth a lot of money. There's things within the buildings, obviously, there's training, and budgeting, I think, is really critical here.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think we might put that not in minimum qualifications, but in the section of essential functions.
Cool.
If you catch my drift.
Yeah, I just wanted it somewhere.
Yeah, I know, because I agree 100%. I think that's a huge part of running a department, and it's just getting more and more important with the sheer amount of the money that we're spending on some of these pieces of equipment.
Especially if we get a strong chief,
Right.
right?
So I have a line in here that is prepares and administers the department's annual operation and capital budgets, monitors budget to ensure adherence to budgetary control, and oversees personnel administration function within the department.
Yeah, that's good.
And then Evan, that 1720's got a really long title, so I'll let you just look that up whenever. So I
Okay.
was gonna send it to you, but there's no chat function.
We literally may just leave this as NFPA 1720.
That's fine.
They can look it up.
They don't know what it is, we'll have bigger problems.
Yeah, right, right. Um, and then, you know, the other thing to just take off from that, so those were the special things, but you're gonna have things in here like your knowledgeability and skills, which obviously Badge Quest has their own that they're looking at, but you'll see in here too, extensive knowledge of management procedures, including management, budgeting, promotional and hiring procedures. So it will capture some of that down here as well. So again, when you have time to take a look at it, make sure that, you know, that whole section is where we're trying to capture all of that stuff.
Oh, one thing going back up on page 1, I believe it is, you have that he has to be able to operate or some or all of the following equipment. You have light trucks. Do you mean like a light pickup truck, or you mean like a light truck? Because we have both. And it just says other power tools. So I would just say all vehicles or something like that as a catch-all.
Yeah, I had light trucks like the chief's vehicle
Like a
slash
pickup.
pickups, stuff like that.
Okay.
Not all departments want or have their chief running the large.
Correct. I probably would prefer him not to drive the bigger
There you
trucks
go.
necessarily.
Light trucks only. All right. Let's put a question mark here and all.
And there was something else in here about running medical.
Oh, okay. I might have just missed it. Oh, no, I didn't miss it. I didn't take anything out because I figured we would talk about it, take it out.
Okay, yeah. So we just need to. I don't know where it is right now, but
That's okay. I can certainly find it and remove it. Now that we removed it from the special things, I can go back and do that. All right. Any other thoughts on this? I mean, again, we don't have to adopt it tonight, so we can look at it and come back and get everybody's full thoughts at the next meeting. Okay. Here we go.
No, I think that's,
That was all we had in the drive as well as the description.
so I motion to accept the previous meeting minutes.
wait.
Wait, Chief Crapo? you gonna say
Well,
something?
Lydia asked for the motion, right?
We have, specifically, we have the minutes of the 14th. That's all that we currently have. And
So-
go ahead, Chief.
No, so I move that we accept the minutes from, go ahead, Chief, go ahead. I don't know. I'm getting involved.
No, I
Go
was just gonna say with revisions, taking
Right.
out the executive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's already been made.
All right.
Yep.
And we didn't end the meeting at the exact same time that we called it to order.
What was there?
I
Was there a
think we
time
were there, what,
discrepancy?
like 40 minutes maybe?
We'll have the actual time because it's recorded. So
Okay,
we can tweak that.
all right. Do we have a second to that motion?
With the revisions, I second the motion.
Okay. Mr. Broussard,
Aye.
Lieutenant Corder,
Aye.
Chief Crapo,
Rapo, aye.
Mr. Fazio,
Fazio, aye.
Mr. Schminko,
Aye.
Bogar, aye. Okay. And Doreen, as soon as she gets rid of the gremlins in her computer, will send us minutes from the 7th. And Mr. Fadavi will send us minutes from tonight. And could we have a brief discussion on at least sketching out our next 2 meetings for May 12th and 19th. Is everybody pretty much available those 2 days? Because I suspect we'll have a considerable amount of work to take care of.
I'm not available on the 12th or the 19th. I have finance committee moving forward to finalize the budget. But you can all move forward without me.
Are we
Okay.
looking at weekly meetings?
I think until the job is actually posted.
You want to have weekly meetings until the job is posted, or does the?
Well,
board
I think,
work-
are we going to be ready to meet with Badge Quest in another week or two, Evan?
I think you could probably have one more meeting and then we could meet with Badge Quest. And I don't think it needs to be weekly.
Okay,
Because they're not even gonna vote on the strong chief until the 22nd of May.
Right.
So, and we knocked out, quite frankly, we knocked out 90% of it now. So I think
So
we're in
do-
really good shape.
do we need to finalize these documents next week, or should we put it off until the 19th?
Madam Chair, if I may suggest, maybe even if we can wait until the 26th, we will know about the strong chief provision. And that may, kind of force some changes to the documents we've reviewed. And that way we can just kind of do it all in one swoop. We can review it and everything will be ready to go to Badge Quest by the end of the month. And I think that's a decent timeline for us. I mean, the board, I know that Lydia, you and I had spoken about, the board had originally had an intention of
Right.
July 1st because we were uncertain of Chief Gauthier's retirement date. But we've had those conversations and we have until the end of the year. So we do not have that looming deadline. Yeah.
Yep. I would second that, Doreen. I think the 26th would be good because, it gives everybody time to review the documents that are online. We'll know about the strong chief. We can come in and bang all that out together. Send it off to Badge Quest. They can request to meet with us to clarify whatever they've got. And then
Okay.
Bob's your uncle. We're off and running.
Okay, a second to the motion that we have our next meeting on May 26th at 7 PM.
Evan
Okay.
seconded it, right?
No, I said something.
I'm
It's
getting
fine.
old. The
Good.
day is long, chief.
So moved, seconded. All those in favor?
Okay, do we have any other business?
No.
It's amazing though, you guys didn't get your fire chief, oh, you can't see it, I'm sorry. You get your fire chief binder? My goodness. I don't know what it is with the fire department. You get
I
a.
don't know.
When you have that surplus equipment, chief,
Um,
you're supposed to share that surplus equipment with the rest of us peons.
Also, it looks like it's invisible, Chief, so I don't know why
Yeah.
we're on it.
no, must be the
Hey.
green screen.
Gotta
The
watch
chief
out for all
shares
that
quite
secret
well.
squirrel
Does
stuff.
it come out? Oh, there it is.
Oh,
no,
there it is.
it's
Wow, look at that
disappearing.
fancy.
Wow.
There you go.
Ooh,
Yeah, fancy.
Yeah.
Note to self, decrease PD budget accordingly.
Planning and organizing, planning and organizing.
That's,
can I come down and pick up one of those tomorrow, chief?
Sure. I'll give you a book too.
Oh, no. I've had enough of the Mass General laws. Thank you very much.
all right,
Okay.
so, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Yeah,
Okay,
second.
are we all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Everybody.
Thank you.